Now at 11, the legendary Jim Brown has passed away, remembering the life of the athlete, actor, and civil rights activist. Plus, Jim Brown's lasting impact on Syracuse, how his legacy goes beyond sports, and a controversy in Congress, why Central New York's representative is defending his statements about a member of his own party.
This is NBC3 News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy. You're watching NBC3 News at 11. NFL star and Syracuse University alum Jim Brown has died at the age of 87. Many consider Brown to be maybe the best running back of all time in the NFL. He earned 10 varsity letters at Syracuse University in 4 sports: basketball, football, lacrosse, and track. The team later retired his number 44. In 2015, Syracuse University unveiled a statue of Brown outside the Ensley Athletic Center. Our Caitlin McCarthy joins us in studio tonight with how many in Syracuse are remembering Jim Brown's legacy. Caitlin.
Matt, neighbors I spoke with in Syracuse say Jim Brown will not only be remembered for his accomplishments on the field, but off the field as well. Athlete, actor, activist are just some words that come to mind when you hear the name Jim Brown.
Well, he was iconic. On the field, we know what he did. The greatest football player in the history of football.
Brown played fullback at Syracuse University from 1954 to 1956. Followed by an incredible college career, he was selected 6th overall by Cleveland, where he played 9 seasons, later earning spots in both the college and pro football halls of fame.
Spent the whole day explaining how good he was at Syracuse, and football, Ernie Davis days, his movies, Dirty Dozen, I'm Gonna Get You, Suckers.
While a great football player and actor, Brown also was the organizer of the famous Ali Summit, a press conference of black athletes speaking out in the 1960s about their desire not to be drafted into the war in Vietnam. One neighbor I spoke with says Brown's activism is what he admires most.
He was one of those athletes that really put himself above things that matter. He used his platform to talk about things that affected his people and what we needed to talk about at that point. So as much of a great athlete he was an even better person and figure. Jim Brown wore the now iconic number 44 at Syracuse University and was the first to do so in the 1950s. Now, the number 44 will mean so much more. Everybody knows what 44 is when it's so big in Syracuse football, and I think it's a perfect way to keep on remembering him.
Believe me, he's going to be in our books, in our hearts forever, and he really is forever orange.
Whether you remember Jim Brown as a great athlete, actor, or activist, his legacy will continue to live on across the nation, but especially right here in Syracuse. Reporting in the studio, I'm Caitlin McCarthy.
Well, thank you, Caitlin, for that perspective. Now, the impact of Jim Brown's passing is being felt around the sports world. In a post on Twitter, the Cleveland Browns said, "It's impossible to describe the profound love and gratitude we feel for having the opportunity to be a small piece of Jim's incredible life and legacy. We mourn his passing, but celebrate the indelible light he brought to the world." Jim Brown made many appearances in Syracuse in the decades since he left campus after that All-American career. It was 15 years ago this coming September when The Express had its orange carpet movie premiere at the Landmark Theater in downtown Syracuse. Syracuse legends like Floyd Little and Jim Brown both came to remember their Heisman Trophy winning friend Ernie Davis, whose life was cut short by leukemia. I interviewed Brown that night.
He came with so much intelligence and humility and talent, and it made it so easy for everybody, And I respected him, even though he was a totally opposite of me, and he was my friend, and I think it was good because it tells you that America is a great country because there I am fighting on every level, and there he is winning battles that I could never win, and he's winning them with his personality and his work ethics and his diplomacy.
Of course, Brown describing the differences between Ernie Davis and him. He helped convince Davis to come to Syracuse. One of many ways Brown impacted the legacy of Syracuse football and athletics. New at 11 tonight, the Onondaga County DA's office just answered Robert Newlander's second murder conviction appeal with a 57-page response. In March, the Newlander defense team filed that appeal, asking for a third trial or a reduction in his sentence for killing his wife Leslie in 2012. Newlander was found guilty at 2 trials. The first verdict was set aside because of juror misconduct. Among other items, the prosecution argues now the sentencing is appropriate for the crimes Newlander committed, and his age and poor health are not enough to set him free early. Well, new tonight, Syracuse police are responding to new data released from the New York Civil Liberties Union that shed light on the racial breakdown of police stops in the city. That data, released yesterday, says police stop people of color at a much higher rate than white people. It's based on records from 70,000 pedestrian and vehicular stops between 2014 and 2020. The NYCLU says while black people make up 30% of the city's population, they account for about 65% of the stops. The data also shows more police stops are happening in areas that are more densely populated by people of color, while neighborhoods with a higher white population see fewer police interactions. Syracuse Lieutenant Malinowski from the department sat down with our Maggie DeRosiers to talk about this data. He says many of the neighborhoods where high rates of police stops happen fall under what police call POP areas, or problem-oriented policing. Those are areas with the highest rates of shootings and shots fired calls, where officers and resources are specifically sent to combat high rates of gun violence.
That's where our highest gun crime is. So when you have our officers going to those areas trying to combat gun crime, you do have a higher population of our black residents living in those areas, which explains that frequent contact. We spend most of our efforts trying to combat gun crime, and you can see on the map where it lies. So the problem with this report is it just takes it citywide, but you really have to break it down to where are we going the most to do our policing, where are we trying to stop this gun crime, and we can see that that south and southwest side has been plagued by that.
Those maps also include the most impoverished neighborhoods in the city of Syracuse. You can see more of that interview with Lieutenant Malinowski on Today in Central New York Weekend Edition Sunday morning. Well, witnesses say they saw a black pickup truck driving fast and recklessly before it crashed into the parking lot at Hafner's Restaurant on Taft Road in the North Syracuse area this afternoon. Tonight, the Onondaga County Sheriff's Department is investigating. Authorities say after the crash, the driver and at least one passenger took off. They were captured, although the circumstances about how are not yet clear. No one was hurt. We're still waiting on authorities to reveal more details. Embattled downstate Congressman George Santos has named himself treasurer of his own campaign just over a week after being indicted on fraud charges. Santos survived an attempt by House Democrats to expel him from Congress this week, as several Republicans have called on him to step down. Among them is Central New York Representative Brandon Williams, who took questions on Representative Santos at a town hall in Camillus tonight.
You said George Santos is a stain on the soul of our nation who disgraces Congress. Yet you still voted yesterday to protect him.
Is Congress above the law? No. We are not. There is a process unfolding for George Santos. I'm the only Republican to go on national TV and call for him to resign.
Representative Williams also answered questions from the community tonight on improving schools, investments in infrastructure, and reducing energy costs. Let's get a quick check on our Friday night forecast. Here's meteorologist Peter Hall. Peter.
Well, it is a warm and breezy overnight. We're almost near 70 right now in downtown Syracuse, and just about everybody on this map is at 60 or better except Oneonta. So we're warm, and we've had only a couple of sprinkles and light showers go through, and there are still a couple around if you look carefully on the Fossil Surface Experts Live Triple Doppler radar. But heavier rain isn't far away, and you might think, okay, I see this kind of railroad track of rain. It's not far away from Buffalo. This is going to come at us and be out of here by the morning, right? Well, not really. This kind of curlicue, which is here, is going to kind of dive like this, and then it's going to kind of pivot this rain and slow it down. So still some timing issues with this, which we'll show you in Futurecast. Look, overnight it's mostly dry and still mild. I can't rule out a brief passing sprinkle or shower. Here's the situation outside your window tomorrow. Not one number is going to do, okay? And if you're to our west, you're going to have way more rain and only lower 60s. If you're from Syracuse or points east, you have spotty showers, and the steadiest rain is late, and you may go 70 to 75. Again, I'll detail this on Futurecast coming up next. Regency Tower camera shows not much of anything other than the twinkling lights. Coming up next, you won't believe the closeness of temperatures only in the lower 60s for highs to low to mid 70s. We'll show you that, who gets what, and what's up with Sunday next.
Coming up on NBC3 News at 11, making the dream of owning a home a reality. Why the housing market may be shifting in the buyer's favor. And the muddiest PGA golfer of the week by far. Why this PGA pro is also going viral for his reaction, having a few laughs after he got in the mud at Oak Hill.
Across America with mega jackpots, it's Mega Millions.